freedom of speech does not equal violence. But unfortunately, we live in a society where our politicians, our leaders, our elites are pushing this notion because they win when this happens. I call on everyone to protect free speech. Okay, guys, let's just jump right into it. I'm not gonna stall. At a recent event, Charlie Kirk was assassinated at a recent event. I'm not sure if this was a Turning Point USA event, but for those that do not know, Charlie Kirk is a political activist, commentator, father, husband, and he is most well known for starting an organization called Turning Point USA, which hinges upon and is based upon instilling conservatism into our youth here in America. And one of the premises, or one of the biggest strategies of Turning Point USA, is actually going onto campuses across the nation, different college campuses, to debate the youth. I find this to be quite literally a revolutionary way of approaching political conversations. I think that our youth are typically the most vociferous in how they approach politics. They're the most emotional and they're extremely outspoken. This is despite the fact that they don't tend to actually vote. But they tend to be really outspoken and they push trends on the internet. They definitely push trends and they actually have a lot of influence. Charlie Kirk's idea about meeting people where they are and meeting students where they live on college campuses, I think is a great thing. So he was at the Utah campus recently doing what he does best, debating young people, debating college-aged kids and challenging their ideas. And some people would say,
oh my god, why are you debating young people that you're so much smarter than? Like, it's unfair.
It's like, you don't get it. The whole idea is to challenge preconceived notions and ideas and belief systems and paradigms that young people have unfortunately been brainwashed into believing. And so how do you change it other than confronting them with debate and facts and actual dialogue and an exchange of ideas? This is the heart of what freedom of speech is. And this is why I have tried my hardest to curate a space here on YouTube for people to exchange ideas. I've never claimed to be an expert on anything. Well, except for skincare and nutrition. Those are things I'm somewhat of an expert on. But in terms of this political shit, guys, I am no expert. I just want to be a conduit for conversations. And I believe that's what Charlie Kirk was. Now, we can get into and debate the specificities of his political positions. Some people say,
but he's a white supremacist and he's a white nationalist.
And all this craziness, right? They say all this stuff. And we can debate some of his more extreme positions. And yeah, he loves Israel and gluck, gluck, gluck. He's the dick sucker of Israel. Sure, he is. So there's not, I don't agree with him on everything, right? Not even close to agreeing with him on everything. But I think he is typically someone who has values, principles, and typically debates in good faith. You may not like his opinions, but I think he tends to debate in good faith and he's open to criticism. He's open to dialogue. And I always tell you guys during these streams, we need to have more conversations, not less. And Charlie Kirk personified that statement, that belief system that I hold dearly to myself. And so here he is again at this Utah event talking about black gangs and black crimes. Typical, ad nauseum, the usual stuff. Right? Low-hanging fruit, basically. Gang violence and black crime. This is low-hanging fruit. Everybody knows the statistics. Everyone knows, unless you live under a rock, unless you're fucking delusional, everyone knows that the black culture has an issue with crime and violence and killing one another, let alone other races, right? And so when he did that, he was shot. Shot dead. Literally shot dead in front of a crowd of students. Do you know how disgusting this is, guys? Do you know how disgusting this is? And right when I heard the news that he died, my heart sank. Not because I like Charlie Kirk, not at all, right? Not because I like Charlie Kirk, my heart sank because This is yet another attack on freedom of speech. Yet another attack on freedom of speech. And I just knew that the demonic, debased, inhumane, far left people in America and all over the world were going to celebrate what should be a travesty. This is a travesty. And I just knew that the minute I got on Twitter,
You fucking cunts.
were gonna be disgusting. I just knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And here I am discussing this issue with someone I call a friend, someone I call an acquaintance on Twitter. You know how that goes. She since unfollowed me because how dare I? How dare I stick up for freedom of speech in America? I don't think you guys understand how unique freedom of speech is to America. This is a principle I hold very close to my chest, very dear to my heart. And I made a couple tweets. So I'm gonna tell you what I said. Very sad to hear about the latest attack on freedom of speech, this time in the form of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, I didn't say shit about his actual views. I just said this is really sad because this is an attack on freedom of speech in America yet again. And it's in the form of this assassination because that's why he was attacked, for his speech that he's free to express. And you wanna know what this girl said to me? This friend of mine, who I adore, I like her. I'm still following her, by the way. So if you're watching this, I didn't unfollow you, unfollowed me, but I love your content. And I think you're a cool girl. I think that this episode you're going through, maybe you've been possessed by demons. I don't know, you've been possessed by demons because only a demon would tweet the things you tweeted about this conversation. It's alarming. She says,
Not saying anyone deserves to die off what they say, but
I have to laugh. I have to laugh because this is how they always start. This is how liberals always start. Not to betray this principle that I claim to hold dear to me, but let me get ready to betray this principle for the next whole paragraph of this tweet. It's crazy. So right when I read that part, when I read the but, I knew she was about to say some fucking bullshit. I knew she was gonna say some bullshit, guys. This is bullshit. How someone reacts when a motherfucker has died speaks volumes. That's what she said.
not saying anyone deserves to die off what they say, but a man who was openly racist, anti-black, and has gone on record to continuously deny black lives, ignore mass shootings for his right to bear arms, and has laughed at gun violence victims, didn't just die over speech.
Now, I don't know what, those 5 things I just listed are all forms of speech. So what I'm confused about is what did he die over then? Ma'am, what did he die over? Because all the things you listed was his speech. And let's go back to what I said. Very sad to hear about the latest attack on freedom of speech, this time in the form of Charlie Kirk's assassination. He died because of his speech. And now you have this girl in my motherfucking mentions talking about he didn't deserve to die for his speech. But let me give you 5 forms of his speech that does make him deserving of death. Listen, when people show you who they are, believe them. I'll say it again. When people show you who they are, believe them. Don't second guess yourself. Don't second guess yourself on how you perceive that person. When they show you who they are, believe them. So she's not saying that anyone deserves to die based off of their speech, but then she lists off 5 forms of speech that she thinks has made Charlie Kirk deserving of death. I don't think I need to read you guys any more from this person because it's disgusting, but I will. So she sends that bullshit message, basically saying, I don't think that Charlie Kirk should have died for his speech. However, he should have died for these 5 forms of speech that I'm gonna list off for you. What a dumb cunt. I respond to her, so Charlie Kirk died because he's racist, anti-black, ignores mass shootings, and laughs at gun violence victims. Let's just say I give you all that. Let's just throw everything down and let's just say, yes, Charlie Kirk is a racist. Yes, he laughs at gun violence victims. Yes, he's anti-black. Yes, he's all that stuff. I continue. I say, it sounds like you're saying he deserved to die off what he said, all of which is still contained under freedom of speech. Thankfully, freedom of speech includes speech that isn't always popular. Because of this uniquely American principle, we have so many rights today. Freedom of speech is worth defending vociferously, no matter how much you dislike the speech. Hate speech is freedom of speech. This is why I don't get up in arms when you guys come in here and call me a coon, you call me an N-word, you call me I almost said the F word, the F-A-G word. You guys call me a homo. You know, you guys, I don't get up in arms because I actually believe in freedom of speech. And you can't hurt my feelings. And I believe in your right to use language like that. And like I said in my latest short, this is why liberals, conservatives, MAGA, communists, this is why they all hate me, guys. Because I actually have principles. And my principles do not change. I believe in freedom of speech when it makes me comfortable and when it makes me uncomfortable. I believe in freedom of speech in all instances. When someone that I like is being attacked with freedom of speech, I still support that freedom of speech. This is crazy. This is just crazy. And she says she says even crazier shit. This is what she said. I'm gonna read another tweet from her.
Freedom of speech is not freedom to spread racial hatred online, in person, on news platforms. That's inciting lawless action, threats, hate crimes, and harassment, all which is illegal, and your freedom of speech will not hold up there.
This is all from a lawyer, mind you. So a lawyer just said this bullshit on Twitter. So you are now claiming that all of Charlie Kirk's speech, his freedom of speech, is illegal? Girl, how did you pass the bar exam? Somebody needs to go check where she got her license from, because it sounds like it needs to be revoked, making a fucking tweet like that. That is so preposterous to say. Why has he not been put in jail for inciting riots? What the fuck? And see, this just fucking pisses me the fuck off. You are now proclaiming that someone else's speech is violent. This is what they're trying to say, that his speech is violent. And how do you respond in violence? Nazis deserve violence, right? Nazis deserve violence. White nationalists deserve violence. Your political enemies deserve violence. This is the end result. When you say and when you push the narrative that speech can be violent, that your opinions can be violent and cause violence against another person, this is the end result. Here's where it gets tricky. When you set these norms, when you set these precedents, the pendulum always swings back. And when it swings back in your direction, you get clocked. And this is why I advocate for freedom of speech. Because when you are censored for calling me the N-word with the hard R or calling me a homo, when you are censored for that, it then becomes easier for me to be censored for something else that I say. And I don't want to be censored. I don't want my speech to be censored by the government or by society. And so how dare I attempt to censor someone else?
Let's go back and take a walk through time, shall we? Remember this. Remember all of these instances. Dave Chappelle, transgender jokes in Netflix specials, leading to protests and walkouts. And then Dave Chappelle came out and said it was literally his friend. It was that was his personal friend that he was talking about. And he knew the guy. Sarah Silverman, that's kind of a strange one, didn't expect that. Lost film role due to resurfaced blackface sketch. Dave Smith, Luis Gomez, Jim Florentine, Kurt Metzger. Seattle comedy shows canceled for misalignment with progressive values. Roseanne Barr lost stand-up opportunities after racist tweet amid progressive calls for accountability. Kathy Griffin, blacklisted from TV gigs after photo implying violence against Trump with some left-leaning criticism for insensitivity. Okay, so there's literally one other person. There's one person, one comedian on this list that had some kind of right-wing influence on the cancellation. Okay. Let's go to TV shows. $1 Million Extreme presents World Peace, canceled by Adult Swim due to alt-right associations and accusations of racism and sexism. Roseanne, canceled after Roseanne Barr's racist racist tweet. South Park, pulled for religious insensitivity or timely controversies. I remember this one. This is the one where they were going to show Muhammad, and they've shown Muhammad uncensored before, but there was one episode where they had to have it censored, and now they're no longer being played. The Dukes of Hazzard, series removed due to Confederate flag symbolism. Cops, pulled from Paramount Network amid BLM protests over police brutality. Live PD canceled by A&E following backlash on police violence during George Floyd protests. The Richard Pryor Show canceled after offensive slavery sketches seen as racially insensitive. And that's just on the television. That doesn't count the countless people who have been censored, that have been completely censored and ripped off of the internet and not allowed to earn a living for the jokes or the political coverage that they would do. Think of every canceled YouTuber or streamer that has ever happened. And then think about yourself.
Disgusting. It's quite disgusting, actually. So I'm disheartened, not because I'm shocked, but because I was right. I see the writing on the wall. Of course, when you build a society that continues to be authoritarian, continues to be censoring freedom of speech, continues to treat their political enemies and normalize violence against them, this is the result, of course. Of course. So I'm disappointed, I'm disheartened. I'm really just, I feel bad for his children and for his wife. I was not the biggest fan of Charlie Kirk. I mean, I like what he stood for. I didn't really particularly care for most of his positions, but I like what he stood for. A principled debater, you know, a principled person who wants to have conversations. And I think that that's something that we should value in society. That's something we should value. Freedom of speech doesn't equal violence. You're right, and it's obvious. Freedom of speech does not equal violence. But unfortunately, we live in a society where our politicians, our leaders, our elites are pushing this notion because they win when this happens. I call on everyone to protect free speech. Freedom of speech doesn't equal freedom of consequences either, Cho.
Did you see how quickly Cho reacted to this the way he had? Do you see this?
Freedom of speech doesn't equal freedom of consequences either, Cho. Freedom of speech doesn't equal freedom of consequences either, Cho.
Like, even I'm like stepping in here for a moment. I'm the editor. What the hell? In the in the context of an assassination, someone says your speech has consequences. Okay.
Do you think that people should die for their speech? Do you think people should die for their speech? And what types of speech should they die for? Absolutely not. So why would you even bring that up, Magic Johnson? Why are you bringing up moot points? What does freedom of speech doesn't equal freedom of consequences have to do with Charlie Kirk dying? I'm not understanding why you brought that up. Why did you bring that up, Magic Johnson? Hitler was a far-left Democrat, also known as a National Socialist, aka a Nazi. Listen, Hitler should also have freedom of speech. I mean, you know, it is. I mean, listen, freedom of speech is something that will make you uncomfortable at times, and that's okay. It's okay. Listen, everyone wants to be soothed of all their discomforts. You can say whatever you want to say in this community. You can call me the N-word, hard R, all day long. You can call me every homophobic name in the book. But what you cannot do is spam my chat. Grow up. Violence should never be the answer to words or ideas. Rest in peace, Charlie. I agree. And I don't think that that is controversial. How did that become a controversy? How is it, this is crazy, how is it that our side is now the controversial side for saying that violence is not the answer? How is that the weird thing? How is that how is it controversial to say that we shouldn't answer words that make us uncomfortable with violence? That's wild. That's wild. That's so wild. That's actually crazy. But let's talk about the shooter. Listen, because, you know, this wasn't some deranged, trans, psychotic, you know, blue-haired, wanna cut my own dick off type of person, right? That wasn't this type of person. This was a trained shooter. This wasn't a mentally disturbed person. I mean, just other than being a psychopath, a hired killer, this was not your typical mentally disturbed, blue-haired freak, hates the world, total incel, can't get no pussy. It wasn't that type of person. It was someone that took one shot, got in, got out, clean. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. This is a professional job. Wouldn't surprise me if there are military connections. Wouldn't surprise me not one bit if there are military connections somehow. This is a professional. This is no sloppy assassination attempt. You know, typically when you have people who are mentally disturbed and, you know, fucking crazy and unhinged, they usually get into a shootout with the police, or they get real sloppy, they kill other people. You know, it's very sloppy because sociopaths are sloppy. One of the biggest difference between a sociopath, a mentally disturbed sociopath, and a psychopath is really in the demeanor. The psychopath is a businessman, does not have the emotional capacity for anything. Right? It's all business. The sociopath is sloppy, emotional, makes mistakes. There are some traits that overlap, but this shooter was a trained killer. The shooter was not unhinged. Took a clean shot, knew where he was aiming, got in, got out, no hassle. We're gonna see a lot of speculation about this killer. It's terrible. Most hunters are not hunting people. So it's a little bit of a false comparison. And I'm gonna tell you why, because there's that emotional element in it. You're in a crowd of people. You're not out in the field shooting at fucking deer. You're shooting in a crowd of people. So I think it's a bit different than just being a hunter. I'm not so sure if the average hunter could take that shot and get it clean, because you're shooting at human fucking beings. I think it's a bit different, Sleek Six. It's a bit different.
They say that Charlie Kirk was offered an infusion of $150 million by Israel, okay? That would double Turning Point USA's budget. Turning Point USA has an annual budget of $140 million. Netanyahu offered Turning Point $150 million for one purpose and one purpose only: to shill for Israel harder. Turning Point USA is already pro-Israel. They're not anti-Israel. They've never been anti-Israel. Charlie Kirk has, in the past, criticized Bibi Netanyahu. He has criticized secular left-wing Jewry in America. He has criticized a war with Iran, the famine in Gaza. He has never opposed Israel in itself. He has never explicitly opposed Israel. Israel offered him $150 million to be more pro-Israel than they already were, to be harder in their support for Israel, and in particular, to support regime change in Iran and to support their ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk refused the money. And I have independently confirmed that, by the way. I've heard that from 4 people. 4 people that I trust that are in the know. So this is coming from Candace Owens, a friend of Charlie Kirk. This is coming from Max Blumenthal, who purports to have a source. And I have heard from a handful of people independently of those sources that this offer was real and that Kirk turned down the money. After Charlie Kirk turned down the money, Netanyahu asked if he would come visit Jerusalem and give him the re-education tour. The Holocaust Museum, the burned babies, the beheaded babies, the one that Elon Musk took, the one that our Speaker of the House took. Anyone that's ever criticized Israel has been subjected to. He refused that as well. They offered to bribe him. They tried to re-educate him. He refused both offers.
So it's going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be really interesting what happens. Also going to be interesting how he got away. How did he get away? Where were the cameras? Where was the security? Where were people on the rooftops? What happened here? If you say whatever you want, you don't have my respect. Simple as that. Well, Magic Johnson, nobody gives a fuck about your respect. That's not what we're talking about. You said that freedom of speech is not without consequences. In the context of a man being shot dead for his freedom of speech. That is fucking sociopathic and anti-personality disorder adjacent. That, sorry, it is. This was 100% a hit job. If you read some of his comments and posts from the last few months, you could tell even he knew he was walking a super thin line. I think it's a good time to lean in to freedom of speech. It's a really good time. I think that we need to really take this moment and lean in to freedom of speech. This is really important, guys. This is really important. And I feel so bad for his children and for his wife. No one deserves this to happen. I just think that Charlie Kirk stood for a principle that I really hold dear. I truly do believe that freedom of speech is a right that we have in America that is worth defending. Probably the biggest right that we should defend. And the death of this guy is, listen, he liked to slob on Israel's knob, and that was disgusting. And, I don't agree with a lot of things that he says and, whatnot. But again, he was someone who was a conduit for conversation and a conduit for debating and exchanging ideas. And like I've always said, we need more of that. So having one less person who is trying to engage people and get people together, disgusting. Can I just say this? Freedom of speech doesn't equal violence. I believe that everyone has their own beliefs and what they want in life. Yes, we won't all agree on everything, and everyone but getting violent and harming and even killing people is a sign of trying to silence people for what they believe in and thinking differently. I work in the medical field and I'm exposed to so many different backgrounds and beliefs, but I still treat people equally and let them believe what they want. I'm frustrated, angry at why people are acting like this. I was never raised for thinking and acting this way. It's terrible. So one thing that I saw that was interesting, I saw a tweet, and I haven't figured out if I'm going to expose the tweet or not because she deleted the tweet immediately. But a really popular influencer made a tweet basically saying that with Charlie Kirk's death, now the elite, the high impact influencers, the super duper elite rich are now feeling the violence that the lower classes have felt for so long now. And she makes an interesting point, not just in regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination, but when you think about the CEO that was also assassinated, you're seeing where even the rich and wealthy, even the influencers, even the political elites are in danger. What does that mean? They were always in danger, but it seems like they're just now really facing some of the consequences of the chaos that they have brewed. I'm not singling out anyone in particular. I'm just saying that there is a lot of chaos brewed by the elite, by the deep state, by people that are in high places, in ivory towers. There's a lot. This is crazy though, guys. I'm really upset about the state. And for my so-called friend to unfollow me on Twitter because of my compassion and empathy, liberals are crazy, yes. Some of them are demented, yes. Some of them are of the devil and dark-sided, yes. But one thing those motherfucking cunts are good at is marketing. Conservatives are fucking losers. They're losers. I'm sorry, it is what it is. You guys are losers. But liberals, they're good at marketing. They have somehow marketed themselves for decades now as the side of tolerance. I can't even say that with a straight face. the tolerant left. And it has stuck in popular culture and mainstream media and in American culture. They are known as the tolerant left. Yet somehow people ended up canceled, dead, murdered, all for their opinions and their views. As a reminder, Charlie himself said empathy was a bad word. Well, what he was getting at was that toxic empathy is what has taken over. Toxic empathy is why that Ukrainian girl was stabbed to death by a mental patient on a public train. Toxic empathy is why she was killed, because there were 14 opportunities. There were 14 opportunities for her death to be prevented. But it was because of toxic empathy that allowed him yet another opportunity to unleash violence upon an innocent victim. So yes, some people might think that empathy is a bad thing. They're misconstruing it. They're simplifying things a bit too much. Empathy is what makes you human. But we have this over-tuning of that emotion. But we over-tune that in a bad way to become toxic. Too much of anything can be toxic. And this is a prime example. Bond reform,
Justice reform.
that is quite literally policy decisions being made due to toxic levels of empathy. When you are having more empathy for the violent criminal than the person that they have done harm to, we're cooked. It's sad. It's really, really sad. Where have you seen people express more empathy for him than her? The 14 times that he was put in jail and was released. That's where. The 14 times that he was placed in jail and they said, he's a sweet baby angel. He probably,
He probably doesn't come from a home with a father. He probably grew up in the ghetto. There's just not enough resources for him.
That's where the empathy was shown towards him. 14 times, to be exact. 14 times empathy was shown to him. That's where. Yes, Raphael. See, and here's another thing that's fucking bonkers to me. You fucking cunts. You don't believe in preventing violence. You want to wait until violence happens to do anything about it. There was 14 fucking times where this guy should have been locked up for a long fucking time. But again, because we care more about the feelings of repeat violent criminals, because we care about empathizing for them and infantilizing these violent criminals, it allows them to then commit more crimes. So what's fucking inevitable? Of course. What are you talking about? And then people want to bring up Daniel Penny. Hell or high water. You want to bring up Daniel Penny and say,
well, he shouldn't have killed the guy. He shouldn't have done anything.
listen, when is it okay to defend yourself or defend somebody else? After they've been attacked? Stop. 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 It's crazy. There was 14 opportunities for her death to be prevented, is the fucking point I'm making. And each time there was some level of
Empathy.
that was given to him because of X, Y, and Z reasons. It's toxic empathy. And no one bats a fucking eye until it's their daughter, until it's their wife, until it's their niece that is stabbed on a public fucking train. So don't go there.
This is you. This is your sister, your wife, your daughter. But this right here is you. This is your sister, your wife, your daughter. This is you. This is your sister, your wife, your daughter. But this is you. And this is their reaction when you are killed.
Oh, let's talk about how conservatives are also mad at me right now. Because you guys know that everybody hates me. Everybody hates Cho. Listen, I might be conservative leaning and libertarian, but listen, everybody hates me because this motherfucker right here has principles. And so my friend or my acquaintance, I gotta stop calling people friends on the internet because bitches are flaky as fuck and unloyal. People have no loyalty these days. But I was on Twitter and one of my acquaintances was like, oh, this girl laughed about Charlie Kirk dying. Here's her employer. And I was like, oh, not the conservative who's against cancel culture canceling somebody. What? Listen, and this is what you guys have no principles. You guys have no principles. Conservatives have been whining and whining.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
About cancel culture for the last 5+ years. And the minute that you get the opportunity to cancel somebody else, here you are. Like a shark smelling blood. Here you are. Can't wait to pounce. Can't wait to pounce. It's sad, it's grim, and it's pathetic. I get it that you guys are emotional about Charlie Kirk dying. I get it. It's terrible. I agree. But I don't believe in canceling people for their opinions. Okay, I just don't believe in that. That's a principle that I have that I'm not changing on, even when it makes me uncomfortable, right? People laughing about Charlie Kirk's death and making up excuses for him dying. It's upsetting to me. It's bothersome. It perturbs me a bit, but I would never go out of my way to then try to cancel them, cancel their life, because that's one step away from just killing them. It just makes you look like a hypocrite. Truly, honestly. And you can disagree with that, and that's okay, because I don't give a fuck. Again, we're here to share opinions and ideas, but you will sleep better at night when you're consistent with your morals, with your principles, because you will then move differently in the world. You'll start to actually live a virtuous life, a life of virtue, a life where you're satisfied with yourself and who you are at your core. So I implore everyone out there to try to be principled and consistent in said principles. Do you believe in cancel culture or not? It's quite literally a very simple yes or no question. And if the answer is no, I don't believe in it, then why are you engaging in cancel culture? Why are you trying to get someone to lose their job because they put a laugh emoji about Charlie Kirk dying? That is sociopathic and anti-personality disorder adjacent. It is. It just is, guys. It truly is. Sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but it's the fucking truth. Don't be a cunt. How dare you complain about people being a cunt to you only for you to then be a cunt to them? That's wild. That's wild. It's wild. So anyway, I commented to my friend, I'm not going to say his name, he's a very popular influencer. I said, listen, this is cancel culture. I don't believe in indulging in this. And, he said, you know what, Cho? I've been canceled. I lost my corporate job in America due to cancel culture. I'm mad as hell. She deserves it. And I said, you know what? You're entitled to your opinions. You're entitled to your sentiments. And I understand those sentiments. It's a sentiment of vengeance, right? But here's the problem. Charlie Kirk would not have done what a lot of conservatives are going to try to do the next 24 hours. The next 24 hours, you conservatives are going to be bloodthirsty. You want vengeance. You're emotional. And I get it. I totally get it. I understand. So it's like, you conservatives are hypocrites. You guys are fucking hypocrites. You guys are going to go out and try to cancel everyone who puts a laughing emoji, who puts a funny meme about his death. You guys are going to be bloodthirsty, and shame on you for doing that. Shame on you for not having the stoicism and the strength and the composure to remain principled human beings. Shame on you. I've already seen it. My comments on my mentions on Twitter are full of MAGA and full of conservatives losing their shit on me. All because I said, I don't believe in cancel culture. Again, not a very controversial statement, but you conservative, nasty fucking cunts are too in your fucking feelings to think anything else. All you see now is red and bloodlust. Demonic, crazy to me. Couldn't be me, honey. Right now, I got 50 notifications on Twitter of conservatives cussing me out. Y'all cussing me out because I said I don't believe in cancel culture. Y'all are hypocritical. Y'all are hypocritical. You're a hypocritical cunt. Stop it. Be consistent. Charlie Kirk, you can say he's problematic and he's this, he's that, and da-da-da. But at my core, I believe in freedom of speech, and I really think it's worth protecting. On the topic of Charlie, I don't give a shit what political thoughts are or what he believes, but he had a wife and 2 kids. He was just sharing his takes and his opinions. No one should be killed for First Amendment. I agree, but here we are. And the fact that this happened in front of a bunch of students, a bunch of young people, so traumatic that you were at the height of your youth in college and you went somewhere with the intention of broadening your horizons, expanding the way you think about paradigms, belief systems, in our politics and our world that we live in, society. And this is what happens. It's really, really terrible. My thoughts on the death of Charlie, I think it's a big blow to freedom of speech. Huge blow. But I'm hopeful that people's desire to defend freedom of speech will become emboldened. I'm hopeful that that will happen. But I don't know. I didn't agree with Charlie on a lot of different things, but he definitely stood for debate and an exchange of ideas, and one less person championing that is a net negative for society. So that's my opinion on Charlie's apparent assassination. Again, people who actually believe in freedom of speech, they're hurt by this, and as they should, because again, people who believe in freedom of speech, including leftists, this is a blow to them too. Because like I always say, the pendulum always swings back and it clocks you hard. I do think that people need to support freedom of speech everywhere in their life because it's that important. Right now, we're seeing in society, if you're a conservative, if you are someone who doesn't have mainstream thoughts or ideas about the world, then you're a Nazi. And it's okay to punch Nazis. It's okay to be violent towards Nazis. And if you're labeled as a Nazi, even if you are not a Nazi, you can be shot and killed now. And people will celebrate in the streets of twitter.com. It's unfortunate. But what happens when the pendulum swings and it's then conservatives who have now co-opted society, and now they're abusing freedom of speech or lack thereof, or censorship, and now they're silencing your liberal ideas. They're now saying you're a communist, which they do this sometimes. You're a communist, you deserve to be punched, you deserve to be shot. I mean, they don't have the social societal capital to do this right now or influence to do that. But I'm just saying, walk with me here. What if you are now being, I mean, there was a Democrat politician that was just shot and killed recently, I think from Minnesota. This is something that happens on both sides. This political violence is something that's been ramped up a lot by both sides, and it has to end. A lot of people were radicalized by this. And that's something I think that the elites love about these types of incidents is the radicalization of people. A lot of people were radicalized by today's assassination. It's unfortunate because a lot of good people have now crossed over to the dark side. I feel it because you're going to see people for who they are in these incidents. People will remove the mask and you'll see people for who they are. And some of them may be your friends, some may be your family, and that's going to be horrifying. I've already seen enough.